The first annual Serendipity Arts Festival held in Goa in December 2016, with an abridged version of it in Delhi this month in April 2017. When NDTV was invited to this festival, which means, and we would like to say this at the outset, that we were hosted by the organizers, for us in India Matters, it became an opportunity to use the Serendipity Arts Festival to explore two trends that have become cultural markers of our time. One, corporate sponsorship for the arts. How does it play out in a festival like Serendipity? How does it work and what does it enable or not? Two, the use of a destination festival as a framework to showcase or promote the arts. The first Serendipity Arts Festival was the initiative of the Serendipity Arts Trust, founded by Sunil Munjal of Hero Honda Company. The strength of the festival was its approach of working with curators, two eminent artists in 7 genres, who in turn work with artists, performers across the country.
It's an arts festival across 7 disciplines. It's 80% is commissioned work. And our curators who worked with us through this, and it's really their festival, it's their to the mandate of the festival, is their expression, is their creativity.
In Goa, the festival was spread across 8 venues. At its core, the Adil Shah Palace, which housed the visual arts, photography and folk art exhibits. Across the Mondovi River, this 50,000 square feet of heritage space was where the Adil Shah dynasty ruled from in the 18th century. The Portuguese made it the Viceroy's residence. Till 1999, it was the State Legislative Assembly, and in 2006, it was given to the Department of Arts and Culture but lay mostly unused, waiting to be brought to life.
It was a mix of old Portuguese mixed with government sarkari pictures, frames, cupboards, cabinets. The Chief Minister and the entire cabinet used to sit in this building too, but it was still accessible. But it had a sense of the musty, the dingy, bits of the past, bits of the present. What's happened now, what is wonderful, it's almost like it's been stripped to the skeleton and cleaned up. I mean, very obviously, when people decide this is going to be a museum space, and a beautiful museum space, they've done it excellently.
Goa served not just as a location, but the festival made an attempt to draw out Goan culture. Prashant Panjiar's exhibitions drew from archival photographs of Goa, which included those from one of Goa's oldest and most prominent photo studios. Also a tribute to another renowned photographer, the late Prabodh Das Gupta, whose edge of faith piercingly looks at Catholic Goa. And there were photographs from a family album.
I started with an idea of looking at Goan identity in some form or the other. And I wanted to look at it from both archival work and contemporary work. And then I came across an architect, Armenia, through the person who was assisting me on the project, John Menezes, who led me to this beautiful collection of a family album, which gave me an insight on how migrations in Goa happened to across the world in the late 19th century and the early 20th century.
Teatra, Goa's local theatre, which manages biting satire accompanied with humour and music, was prominently showcased.
Teatra is very much an amalgamation because it comes from the Portuguese tradition and it's kind of a mini operatic style. You can have a narrator who talks about politics, comments on the social situation and all that.
Riaz Komu, one of the founders of India's most famous art festivals, the Kochi Biennale, began as a consultant to Serendipity before becoming one of the curators of the visual arts sections. For the postcard project called Post Goa, Komu worked with 1,000 school children, creating postcards of what they saw as their Goa.
The struggle of any festival in this world is to make a people's movement. You cannot, keep yourself away from the people. So I think Serendipity also has a future if it can get into the people. So the success of Kochi is that any festival will succeed if it can celebrate the history of the land. Goa is very cosmopolitan, so this project can invoke that. I mean, I'm looking at Serendipity Art Festival as a future prospect.
To fully meet that mandate, though, Serendipity could work a little harder to make more linkages. For instance, many of the young members in the organizing teams may have been old festival hands but were clueless in their knowledge of basic aspects like giving directions around festival venues.
A number of festivals have occurred here. Some of them have been homegrown, some of them have kind of been parachuted in, I would say, in a way. And to a large extent, it's been a mixed bag. You've had certain events which have had a complete disconnect with Goa or with Goan culture and has not even attempted to reach out or represent in any way what actually exists here, which has used this heritage, marvelous heritage kind of backdrop. But ThinkFest ostentatiously ignored anything that was in Goa or took place in Goa. Initially, in fact, there were absolutely no delegates. You had a number of politicians even and business leaders who came in from other parts of India, but nobody in Goa, even current Minister Manohar Parrikar or someone like Charles Correa, we were told, didn't kind of rise to the standard. So that's an example of a festival which I think had its own logic and was successful by its own light, but didn't actually there was no spillover. That's why I commend what Serendipity has done, because by using curators like Ranjit Hoskote and Prashant Panjiyar, as well as people like Jyotindra Jain and Shubha Mudgal, all of these people have actually intense relationships at different levels with Goa. They've spent time here. They understand what the cultural kind of nuances are. And so I think that reflects in the way that they've put together, particularly the exhibitions in the Adil Shah Palace.
In fact, curators like Ranjit Hoskote, as one of the threads in his highly acclaimed exhibition Terra Cognita, brilliantly wove in the location of the festival.
Strand in the exhibition is Bajo Parthan's 58-part photographic installation, which is based on the Abe Faria statue, which is outside the window. So, also there's a certain romance about this building, which I've had for a very long time. I spent part of my childhood in Goa, and then I came back 5 years ago with a friend, Vivek Menezes. The building had just been restored, so we walked through it, and we came to this suite of rooms, which was the Viceroy's office. Outside there is the Mamai Kamath house, which that family was extremely influential and important. They financed the empire. And then there's the Abe Faria statue, which memorializes a figure who was born in Kandoli but made his reputation in Europe as a researcher, an occultist, a scientist. So it's a way of also reactivating the memory of a building, the memory of a neighborhood.
Serendipity's funding enabled projects that were conceptually pioneering, proof that working with curators of substance is one way in which intellectual and aesthetic standards can be raised.
Dr. Jain, Rias, Ranjit, all of them, they're brilliant, right? Being a young foundation in a young office, they almost became like our teachers. They guided us through this entire process, and they've been very kind about it. The brief we gave them for the first time when we met them was that whatever you haven't been able to do because of any constraint, whether content or monetary, let go and we'll make it happen.
We had great...
We asked Sunil Munjal, the man behind Serendipity, what made a prominent corporate get involved with the arts. Part of his answer lies in his background of growing up in old business families who were traditional patrons of artists.
The whole idea is to create a platform, actually a global platform for the Indian arts. There are global festivals where many of the arts come together. In India, we do not have any such opportunity. By itself, many of the arts get a platform, but collectively, and certainly not in an interdisciplinary manner. But we also felt, besides the more popular and the well-known ones, it is important to bring those which are not seen so often, which are in some sense declining or almost dying. So if you see some of the crafts works around here, the work and the quality of the work is absolutely amazing. It is unbelievable talent.
The folk art section has been highly acclaimed. Its curators, art and cultural historian Jyotindra Jain and Manjari Narula of the Crafts Council.
We chose 21 craftsmen from across the country, and we gave them all a challenge to say that you have the skills and you have this great tradition, but we need to take you beyond. So when you see the Sanji, you can see that it's not just a little thing. So we brought it back on paper and we've expanded it. So we've taken it to that other level, and like that with the other crafts as well.
Mohan Verma's family has worked with this intricate hand-cut paper for 5 generations, but he's never been invited to display at an arts festival or worked with Sanji at this scale. Ritual bronze artist from Udupi said he'd never worked outside his temple complex. Similarly, Dinesh Chandra Kumhar, a potter from Mulela, Rajasthan, said he'd never been treated like an artist.